Dr. Ritesh, unmute yourself, sir. Hello, Dr. Ritesh. So you're not audible. Sir, you're not audible. I think, sir, you please log in one more time. In the meantime, I'll start the session. Right? Thank you, sir. So, dear learners, Jain to all. Welcome to this 5 days online FDP on machine learning using Python for the beginners. The intention of this program is to serve a platform wherein somebody who is afraid of the machine learning and somewhere wish to start learning of machine, how it work, what are the different calculations, and how Python help in doing that calculation. So we try to arrange those resource persons who will facilitate all possible help, all possible connect to understand machine learning using Python. With this short introduction, I now request our director, sir, Dr. T.R. Pandeji, who has been instrumental for last almost a year in designing and developing the Center of Excellence for Data Science and Business Analytics at AKGIM. And this is the first faculty development program under that Center of Excellence. So now I request Dr. Pandey to please kindly officially inaugurate the session. Sir, please.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible, sir.
Great, sir. So, Jai Hind, good evening. And to start with, I believe all of us are faculty members, from different dispensations. So let me wish them Happy Teachers' Day because it's a great coincidence. We're having a FGP on this day also. So, Happy Teachers' Day once again. I believe your number is just almost 55% to what it should be. Right. But nevertheless, this FDP, Professor Pankaj, he say, I have been instrumental in designing, but I suppose he has spoken a bit more than what was required. It is he and, with his team that has designed this complete, FDP. Actually, he is very, very, instrumental and I'll say very quick in designing FDPs, I mean, at times at a notice of just 1 week, he comes out with some kind of, format and framework of FDP. So this is one of it, he just, I believe it took hardly 1 week for him to design and come out, and conduct it. So it is wonderful for him. In fact, uh, let me share with all of you that, at AKGM, we have been regularly conducting FDPs one after another in different relevant and, deserving areas for the development of, the intellectual development of the faculty members. Because going forward, all these higher education institutions, they need to stay ahead. We have been teaching competitive advantage, but now has come a situation wherein the higher education institutions and the faculty members, they need to stay competitive in their teaching. So out of competitive advantage, a new concept people are discussing, it is competitive teaching, to stay meaningful and relevant. So and the path to this kind of achievement or competitiveness comes out of only catalyzing instrument like FDPs, wherein you deliberate, you brainstorm, you discuss, you involve yourself. So that way, it is one of the best platform for faculty members to closely interact and learn something out of it. This particular topic, AI and machine learning, was, as I told you, all together his brainchild to conduct. Uh, in fact, I have been discussing today also with my faculty members, and I'm member of the board of studies of my university. Repeatedly, we meet. One thing that has been quite common out of all these meetings, that for last 5 years we have been talking of complete metamorphosis of syllabuses that we are teaching across to management students at BBA level or MBA level. We are all together possible with the MBA college. The syllabus which we have been teaching 3-4 years ago has been 100% undergone, techno-oriented metamorphosis. And the faculty members are saying we cannot create faculty members overnight. So the only instrument, the only thing that can help the faculty members is to develop intellectually out of all such opportunities, right? Because without, I mean, AI is going to be, the thing of the day. It is actually going to occupy the center stage of all, teaching learning process. Similarly, ML also will do the same thing, and Python is, again, as I told you, ladder to learn, effective and meaningful, machine learning. So my best wishes to all of you. The time is actually very short. It is almost, I mean, very short duration, everything. So I'll not take much of a time. My best wishes to all of you for effective and meaningful takeaways at the end of this FDP. So thank you once again, and once again, happy Teachers Day to all of you. Right, Professor Pankaj, you can take it up now.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your kind facilitation and the wishes for all the faculty members. Now I request Dr. Rahul Singhal to kindly introduce our resource person for the day, Mr. Prateek. Rahul sir, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, perfectly.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. I take great pleasure to introduce one of the modest person and intellectual person, as we were discussing with Pankaj sir, and he has explained me and introduced me Prateek sir as one of the most modest intellectual person. So on behalf of AKGIM and our director sir, I take this pleasure to introduce Mr. Prateek Vasist. He is experienced trainer with a demonstrated history of working in the higher education institutions and in technology companies. Mr. Pratik is BTech in Computer Science from Mahatma Jyotiba Phule University. He has conducted workshop and training sessions for the faculty members and industry professionals in the area of artificial intelligence, deep learning, computer vision, Python programming language, and machine learning. He is AWS certified cloud practitioner. He is IBM certified data science professional. He has expertise in AWS, IBM cloud, Python programming language, Microsoft Excel, and applied data science. Uh, Mr. Pratik going to take session for today and tomorrow also, and he's going to discuss the basics of machine learning and Python. Not taking much of your time, sir. I hand over this session to you. It's all your area now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rahul sir, for this wonderful introduction of mine, and thanks to Director sir for inviting me to this FDP event, and a big thanks to Pankaj sir as well. We have been discussing a lot of things regarding and during the planning of this FDP as well. So very warm welcome to all the participants here. I hope I'm clearly audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Perfectly, sir.
Okay. Fine. So I feel really glad to be part of this program, and again, I'll welcome all of the participants here. And this program, as Rahul sir has also just mentioned, and as well as Director sir, this focuses on building these skills of all the participants into the field of machine learning. Little about data analytics and artificial intelligence. We'll work on the technologies which is behind these areas, and while working of these technology, we'll always keep in mind like how these technologies can be useful in our day-to-day life in the domains where we are working, as all the participants are faculty members or maybe some research scholars. So how we can utilize this for our research purpose as well, and how we convey this knowledge to our students, to the ones those who are going to lead the industry in future. So the entire aim of this program is to facilitate everyone with these technologies, the knowledge related to this. Fine. So without wasting much time, I'll start with the discussion. But before that, I would just quickly would like to know from all the participants how much comfortable you are already with any sort of programming, or maybe Python programming. Does anyone already have an experience working with Python programming, or we are all absolutely new to it? You can write in chat as well. Okay, so Kishore has raised his hand. You can unmute if you want to talk and let us know. Okay, so I can see
Kishore
some
sir?
responses in the chat. Please, if anybody is already experienced into it, please you can write that as well, so that we get a better understanding of how we are going to plan this all program for the coming 5 days. Okay, so some of the participants have done some programming, not in Python, but in maybe in Java, C or C++. That's great. Okay. And is all the participants from Pankaj sir, are everybody from the management field, management background, or from the technical as well?
Pratik sir, honestly speaking, I didn't ask this question in my form, but yes,
Okay.
right now we
So,
can ask to
we
share.
can put a poll here. So we again in the chat, I would request everybody to mention their domains. Uh, I presume that most of us are from the management. If somebody is from the technical background, maybe a faculty of engineering in computer science. Okay, we have people from EC. Okay, fine. So we have people mix of all. But what I came to know that Python was new for everybody, I guess. Fine.
Majority are from management, sir.
Okay.
But yes, there are many who are from the engineering background.
Okay. No worries. It's fine. Okay. So some people know Python as well. That's really good. So in this entire program of 5 days, what we planned is, because people are new to this technology, we will start with the very basics, very foundations of what is actually machine learning, how it is related to the related fields, like there is a buzzword artificial intelligence. We every now and then hear AI, and AI is everyone around us, right? So we'll talk about how it is related to AI, what is the relationship, what are the other aspects in machine learning, what are the types, what are the methods that we use. When we say machine learning, we are going to make machine learn, so what are the methods that we utilize? And then we'll move towards working on the hands on, that means understanding the technology. So Python is the one very simple programming language that is utilized for the implementation of AI or implementation of machine learning methodologies. So because this is very easy to learn, this is very easy to implement as well, and everybody, even if you're not from the technical background, you would feel that it is definitely very easy, very intuitive to write some codes, small codes in Python, which will perform the activities what we desire to do, right? So that is why we have chosen Python, and everybody in the industry, almost everybody, is using Python for these purposes. Moreover, not only talking about the basics of Python programming, we'll move ahead in this program talking about the actual implementations in terms of working with data, how data analytics is performed, why do we do that? I'll talk about that as well today. And then moving towards the methods, as I said, the algorithms are there. So we'll go ahead and implement those algorithms in Python. We'll understand how we implement the algorithms and how the algorithms for different purposes can be implemented, so that when we go ahead and start working on something, right, we'll take up some data and we'll start working, we'll start utilizing that data to generate some output. We should know how different types of data can be utilized, and for what specific target or a purpose, what kind of method should be used, right? So this entire program will work on this strategy. So I'll just share my screen, just a second. Okay, and I hope now my screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay, thank you. So just to save the bandwidth, I'll just switch off my camera here and I'll continue the discussion with the slides. Fine. So once again, welcome, and we'll now begin with the journey of this 5 days program, right? And this is the first session, so this is more of a theoretical part where we'll go and discuss the concepts, where I would like to build up the strong foundation for the upcoming days in these program. So from day 2 onwards, it would be uh, believe me, it would be all hands-on activities throughout the session, right? So the entire session would be hands-on from tomorrow, but today it would be more of a theoretical discussion. In this session, we'll talk about a few things. Like, definitely, I will talk about machine learning. We'll discuss about that, and apart from that, we'll talk about we'll go into a little more detail. We'll go into a more basic form from where the machine learning comes in. So, what happens before learning? So, we'll talk about the data, understanding the data, performing the data analytics, and what are the tools and technologies that we utilize for this, right? And I'll also help you share a few links which can be utilized to download and install the tools that will be utilized from day 2 onwards. Fine. So let's begin, and we'll begin with a big question. The question is, what is actually machine learning? I'm directly moving to machine learning, and I'm putting up a question: what is machine learning to anybody of us? Right. And at this point, I would request everybody, and I would like to hear from the participants, what is their perception about machine learning so far? What do you think is machine learning? Let me know your perception. There's nothing right and wrong in any of these definitions. You will always be right, right? So let me know, what do you think, what is machine learning? And any example that comes to your mind, if in case, you can share that as well. You can go ahead and unmute your mic, talk about it. You can write in chat as well. I am okay with any of these methods. I am okay with both English and Hindi, so you can talk in any of these languages.
Pratik sir, Dr. Surbi responded in the chat box.
Okay.
She said,
Yes, sir.
making the electronic device learn is about machine learning.
Yeah, making
Mr.
electronic
Shashank
device.
Sahu,
Okay.
Mr.
Sir,
Shashank Sahu said,
I have opened the chat. I can read through it.
okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
So Shashank Sahu is saying to predict is machine learning. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so Tanmay Bharadwaj is saying algorithm to learn based on data. Really nice. And Kishore is saying that a system able to learn from its surroundings. Really great, great responses. Right, I'm really happy to know.
Machine that would act like as an human being.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Machine that would act like a human being. Okay, so Preeti is saying train our device for implementation of neural network algorithm. Okay, we are going into much more details here. Application of AI. This another response from Srinivasa. Fine. So, anybody else wants to say
So
something?
yes, it is basically the machine learns from the algorithm. We give the algorithm to the machine, and machine learns from the algorithm with the help of the data, and
Okay, great,
predict
great,
something.
great, great. And Ajay Singh says feeding some data and information to a machine, which is helpful in determining
Prediction.
prediction and taking future decision in human absence. Really wonderful definition. Rajesh Kumar says code to predict, and Bhavna Goyal says subset of AI. All good, and everybody is correct in their own perceptions, right? So, whenever we say machine learning, I always ask people to start thinking from the human perspective. Think of how would a human do. Like when we say machine learning, there is a term called as learning. So how learning happens with human beings? How learning happens with human beings? Can anybody share your view on that? Being a
By
human being, how would
observing,
I learn? Yes,
by observing, sir.
by observing. Yes, really great. By observing, we have the five main senses. Sense, I have a sense of sight, I have sense of hear, I have sense of feelings through my skin, right? I have sense of smell, sense of taste. These are the sensory organs I have, right? And all of these senses allow me to perceive my environment, take the inputs from my environment. That is what we call observation, not in terms of visual observations only, but observations can be in terms of the other aspects also. And okay, Dr. Surbi says by instructions. Okay, through experiences. Really great. So I'm getting all those important keywords that is required for the definition, right? So you are all correct. So as a human being, we perceive inputs from our environment, and that is where we start to learn, right? But what is actually happening, if I talk very in terms of very technically in a biological sense, whenever we take any input from our surroundings, our brain starts to develop and find some patterns in the input. Now brain always looks to find whether the same pattern is available in the memory so that I can recognize it, or if it is not there, then this is a new pattern, I must store it into my memory and associate it with something, right? So if I see something and I came to know, okay, this object is called car, so my brain will then associate that input pattern with the word car, and it will store in the memory so that anytime when I encounter this again, I can recognize it. Similarly, I would want my machine to also show a learning behavior. Now what happens when we learn? If I learn something, what will happen? What happens when, as a student, if I go out, if I attend some classes, I go and I learn some concepts, what would happen? I would be able to use those concepts in practice anytime in future. That's what is the purpose of learning. Similarly, into machine as well, when we say machine learning, that means we want machine to observe, experience, understand and identify the patterns, store those patterns in the memory, associated with something. Now we'll talk about what is that something later, but associated with something so that this input can be recognized later and utilized for future actions. This is what, in simple terms, is learning for human beings, and similarly, it is learning for machines as well. Now, for us, the input could be in a different form. As I said, like I can see something, I can smell, I can taste, I can feel. I can feel the temperature around me. I can feel today is hot or cold, right? But similarly, how would machine perceive? It would not directly perceive the temperature, but machine always works, or digital systems, digital electronic devices always works in terms of digital data. It can utilize digital data. Now, directly, the data cannot be utilized. Definitely, like human beings, a machine needs to find out patterns within the data, and so that these patterns can get stored in the memory and can be utilized further. Coming to the definition, the very formal one, right? So machine learning provides an ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being explicitly programmed. So if anyone who is familiar with programming, you must already know that we can write programs to perform certain actions. I can say, okay, if the value is 10, a particular action A1 has to be performed. If value is 20, then A2 action has to be performed. This is hardcore programming actions. But learning gives an ability to a machine to not to get explicitly programmed, but perform actions based on the input. and those actions would be defined based on the learning process. Learning is not a very simple and very I would say an immediate process. It takes time to learn. It takes time to find out the patterns. Even for human beings, it takes time to learn. Similarly, for machine, they also take time to learn. And for a machine, the input is some kind of data that we have captured from the surroundings, from the environment. I hope the definition is clear. Does that make sense? If you still have any doubt at this point, please let me know. Okay, fine. Right. So this is what in simple terms we call as a machine learning. So what my purpose would be from this learning at this point, why I am learning about machine learning, why I'm talking about machine learning, because around me, I can see there are n number of things which is based on machine learning. I hope everybody use Android or iPhone devices, right? Mobile phone, smartphones is something which is very common. Everybody is using that. And in our latest mobile phones, we have fingerprint readers. We have face recognition systems, right? I can unlock my phone through face recognition. I can unlock through voice. I can unlock through fingerprint, right? And this is all the AI implementation. This is all artificial intelligence. Agree? Right? Fingerprint recognition is artificial intelligence. Voice recognition is artificial intelligence. And the implementation of AI is not direct. Like, so the implementation requires machine learning methodologies in most of the cases. So we can say ML is a very important part of AI implementation. It is a subset of AI. When we say AI or artificial intelligence, we are always looking to mimic the human behavior. That means we want to build machines that can act like an human beings, behave like human beings, perform actions like human beings. It can move, it can recognize, it can talk back, it can understand natural language, it can see the objects and identify objects, differentiate between objects, differentiate between individuals, recognize people through their faces, recognize individual through their voice. That is the AI behavior. And to implement AI behavior, we want machine to have learning capabilities. Only then it would be able to recognize, it would be able to differentiate, it would be able to discriminate, it would be able to identify and classify between the objects, people, or anything. So that learning behavior comes from machine learning methodologies. And a subset of machine learning is called as deep learning. Deep learning is a part where we go a step ahead and we start utilizing artificial neural networks for machine learning purposes. That is what we call as a deep learning methodology. Artificial neural network is simply a, I would say nowadays it's a completely a software based simulation of how human neurosystem or nervous system works. The network of neurons in human body is something what is storing the patterns, identifying the patterns, and utilizing the patterns to perform the action. When I said earlier that the patterns are stored in the memory, those patterns are utilized for performing the actions. The actions are performed by a combination of neurons. Similarly, in a machine as well, we are using artificial neural networks to understand the patterns, identify the patterns, classify the patterns into one of the categories, and then utilize those patterns for actions in future. Right? So as I said, that AI is everywhere, even in our mobile phones, in our laptops as well. We have Windows Hello that again allows us to use fingerprints and face recognition method to unlock the laptops. I can talk and allow my system to type or convert my speech into text. That is also an AI implementation. If some text is there, I can allow my machine to talk back. That means it can convert the text into an audio signal. Right? That is also an AI implementation, and that implementation requires machine learning, or in a broader sense, we can also say it requires deep learning for more sophisticated implementations. So when we say machine learning or deep learning, that can be classified into some categories. There are mainly three types of machine learning. The one is supervised learning, another one is unsupervised, and third one is what we call as reinforcement learning. Can anyone guess from the term what is supervised learning? What is supervised method? And that is something we follow regularly in our classrooms.
Someone is giving instruction to machines.
Yes, you're right. Someone may be giving instruction to the machine. Okay.
And inputs as well as outputs also will be there.
Inputs and outputs both are there. That means both are known
Yes.
in advance.
Thank
Okay. Under the guidance. Tanmay says under the guidance. Great. Right. So what happens, what we do with our students? What we do regularly is we conduct classes, right? We teach them some concepts, and then we ask them to practice or perform some actions, right? So for example, if I'm teaching some numerical concepts and I tell them some method, and then I ask my students, okay, use this method to solve a particular problem, and answer should be generated. Okay. Now if I say, when you generate the answer, the final answer should be, for example, 80, right? In numerical terms, 80 should be the final answer. So they'll start working on it and they'll calculate something, and some of them would be successfully able to generate 80, some of them would not be able to, right? But in this case, the output is already known to them. They already know that whatever I am going to solve, I know a particular method, and using this method, the answer should be 80 or any value, any specific value, which is already told to me. Now, if I'm able to generate it, that's well and good. If I'm not able to generate it, that means I've committed some mistake during the process. I must go back and check. I'll check. I'll try to generate this answer, right? Now, if I give my student 10 such problems, through those 10 problems, using a particular specific method, student will start solving the problem, and I'll already tell them, okay, this is the answer key. These should be the final outcomes that will come. Now they'll go ahead, they'll solve 1, 2, 3, and so on. All the 10 problems are solved. That means they now know the method very well. They are now well equipped with the method. And now if I give another problem, which is problem number 11, and I don't tell them what is the answer, will they be able to generate the correct answer? Most probably, right? They will be able to generate, because now they know the method. Now they know what mistakes they might have committed in the first 10 problems, and what should be avoided, and what is the correct way, and then they'll be able to generate the correct answer finally, right? That is the supervised way. Similarly, in machines also, the supervised learning works in a similar way, right? So we tell in advance to a machine whatever processing has been done, whether it is right or wrong, or as somebody mentioned, that both the input and output is already known. So the mapping of input to output is done. Now during that mapping, when the mapping is done, during that mapping, some learning is performed. What is that learning? I'll just take a moment. because I need to actually reshare my screen for this purpose. Fine. I hope the blank canvas is visible to everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, for example, I have some x. I have some value x, and I know I must generate y. Right? How do I generate y from x? I might have x1, which will generate y1. Then my teacher says, okay, I have another x2. You should generate y2 out of it. I have another x3. Go ahead and generate output y3 using x3. Right? And follow a common methodology for this. I don't have a common method, right? I must generate a common method. I must generate a common means to generate the correct output every time. Or I would say, in a more detailed way, I must try to generate most approximate output every time. May not be the exact one, but the most approximate output every time. So can I go ahead and have a factor A that can be commonly utilized every time whenever any input comes? For example, so input is x. So for any input x1, x2, x3, I just use a common factor A. If I combine A with x or any input, an approximate value of y would be generated. Right? So now the task is, I know the x values that would be supplied as an input. I know that I have to generate a particular output y, which is already told to me. I need to find out what is this factor A. Isn't it? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So if I have to find this factor A, the task is to identify what is A, and when the A is recognized, when I am able to find A, what should I do? Can I save this A somewhere?
Yes, sir.
I can go ahead and save this value A, right? In a very simple terms, very simple, very layman terms, this A is what is called as factor which is being learned by machine. This is something what is learned by machine. A machine will work on x1, x2, x3, will try to generate y1, y2, and y3 corresponding outputs using a common factor A. And when this A is found with number of experiments, maybe 100 experiments, 1000 experiments, when it is able to find the best possible way of value of factor A, it will go ahead and store this A forever, so that anytime in future, when any input x comes and any y has to be generated, it will utilize the same factor A and generate a most approximate output. This A becomes the learning, or I would say this becomes the knowledge which is gained by the machine during this learning process. I hope this makes sense. Please let me know if there is any confusion in this.
Sir, Tanmay responded, is it like a function?
Yes, it is. It is. So it is, if you see, it would be like a function of a line. It could be y equal to mx plus c, right? So that's a function of line, equation of a line. So a similar kind of equation can be formed. Yes, we are generating. Fine. So we are trying to find in that function, right? In that mathematical function, we are trying to find those factors. that can be directly utilized, right, and combined with the input to generate the desired output. Mathematically, in the background, the algorithm works in this way. Not exactly the same equation, but it is more complex, definitely. But I have tried to give the most simplest form of an equation, just to make you understand what is, in actual terms, in technical terms, in mathematical terms, what is being learned by machine. It is actually learning some numerical parameters. Fine. So that is, in simple terms, is supervised learning. And against that, we have another method called as unsupervised learning method. Unsupervised learning is the case where we do not know in advance what would be the output. What we did could be right or it could be wrong. We don't know until we finish up the work, right? That means if I give 10 problems to a student, I will not tell them what is the answer for each one of the problems until all the 10 problems are solved. And finally, I'll provide them with the answer key, and then they'll come to know, okay, how many of them are correct or how many of them wrong. They'll come to know afterwards as a final result. Right? So what happen is, in this method, with every experiment, we don't know whether we are doing it correctly or in a wrong way. Only the final outcome will let us know whether we were correct or not. So, in many experiments, we may be wrong. We're not doing it correctly. The learning is not done perfectly from the very beginning itself. That is why we have to go back and learn again, again and again. And it takes lot more time as compared to supervised learning. Or I would say, if I don't have a teacher and I'm then without a teacher, if I go ahead and learn something, it will take a lot of time. It would take more time for me to learn by myself. I may not know a lot of things, right? I have to go ahead, try and experiment. So that is what we call as a unsupervised way of learning. And the third method is reinforcement type of learning. That is directly related to the rewards and penalties. Anytime when an algorithm using this method during the learning process, right, gets rewarded, means it is moving in the correct direction. If there is a penalty being introduced, that means the algorithm is not working fine. If the penalty is high, it is going in the wrong direction. The things are done incorrectly. It should adjust itself so that the penalty is reduced, or it should adjust itself so that the reward is maximized. That is how the reinforcement learning works. And that is what we utilize to train our pets as well. We ask them to do some action, and as a reward we give them a dog biscuit, right? So if I'm training my dog, I'll bring in some dog biscuit. I know dogs love those biscuits, because of any reason, and I'll ask my dog to perform certain action. If he does, then it's okay, he'll be rewarded. If he doesn't, then he would not be rewarded, so that he knows, okay, whether the action done was correct or not. That is the way of understanding for a machine as well. If a reward factor or a penalty factor is introduced with the algorithm, a machine would know whether the learning process, which is ongoing process, is the correct or not. That means it is learning in the correct direction or not. Fine. Any queries so far? Any question on this?
Participant, you may ask question if you have any doubt so far. Interaction will keep learning more. Okay.
No doubt. Okay. Fine. So let's move ahead and talk now specifically in terms of the methods. Sorry. So what are the different types of method that we utilize? So theoretically, as I said, we have supervised type and we have unsupervised type of learning. We have reinforcement methods also. But when we talk in terms of actual implementation, the implementation of I must tell you, when we say artificial intelligence, so artificial intelligence in itself uh, has been derived from various various other domains. Artificial intelligence takes its input or takes the I would say the knowledge base from neurosciences. I told that deep learning works on artificial neural networks. AI has taken the inputs from uh, psychology as well. Psychology is the science which defines it defines about development. It defines the terms learning, supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement. This is all defined by psychology domain. It defines development. It defines how the development happens in human beings, and similarly how development can be uh, simulated into machines. The theory of decision making has been taken from the field of economics. The theory of selection out of the given choices has been taken from economics, the lottery system. So AI itself is a mix of many domains. It has taken the important aspects from many different domains, from philosophy, from psychology, from human biology. Right? Now, as we go ahead and implement the AI behavior into machine, we are looking for machine learning behaviors. We have to develop some methodologies. These methods, because as I said, we are talking about electronic devices, we are talking about computer system, computer machine that works on digital data. So we are looking for implementation in a more of a numerical form. That is taken from the field of statistics, taken from the field of mathematics, probability theories, right? And there are methods which has been derived, algorithms derived from these mathematical concepts, and broadly divided into three categories of methods. One is the regression method, or I would say regression type of algorithms. Then the classification methods or classification algorithms, and the third one is clustering method or clustering algorithms. Fine. So can anyone share their views? Anything that you know about regression method? What is regression method? Or any example related to it? Or you can tell me where you'll go ahead and use regression method. From our school days, if you have learned about regression mathematics.
For forecasting and prediction, we use regression.
Okay, great. Forecasting or prediction. Uh, uh, Sir, can I ask you what specifically what kind of prediction a regression method can generate?
I mean, over the past data, you identify the pattern. Regression identify the patterns,
Yes.
and based on the last few data, last few years data, try to predict the future so that you can estimate the future.
Very
Maybe just predict the cost of the flat.
okay. So cost of the
to
flat as an example. Okay, that can be predicted.
to
True.
to
Yes.
produce a numerical value. Numerical value outcome is
Okay,
a
to
numerical
predict the numerical value, or can I say to predict the continuous numerical values? Continuous values, right? So
Yes,
there are
yes.
discrete values and there is continuous. So we can say to predict the continuous values, we can use regression methods. So we have Tanmay also saying linear regression from mathematics. Okay, exactly that. And Kishore is saying identify the factor which can affect most. Great. That is, you nailed it. So that is the work, or I would say the process behind the regression algorithm which is happening. And that is what I mentioned earlier as well. We were trying to find the factor A, which will combine with X and generate Y. That is the kind of algorithm we use with regression, classification, these methods. And in regression as well, we find those factors that will affect. Fine. So in a very simple terms, regression is a method, right? For example, if you see this image, you can see there is an iPhone, second one is also an iPhone, and third one is also an iPhone. How would I differentiate between these three? These are different variants, different models, right? I might have iPhone 11 and then 13 and then 13 Pro Max, something like that, right? How these things differ is they are associated with different cost, right? Now when I go ahead and use regression, this is one simple example. I can go ahead and predict the value of any of these iPhone. The value for these iPhone is a continuous numerical value. It is a continuous numerical value. It could be, like, for example, for the first case, iPhone 11, it could be 40,000, 40,200, 40,299, something similar to that. And for the second one, it could be something different. And the third one, it would be something different. Right? So if I have to predict the cost of a flat, of a mobile phone, of any object, maybe I have to predict the temperature. What is the average temperature today? What is the minimum or maximum temperature today? I can get some approximate continuous numerical value, right? That is where we use regression methods. It works on a simple line equation line of an equation, y equal to mx plus c. That form of an equation is formed in regression, and that is utilized. So when we go ahead in the coming sessions and we learn about regression method, we go ahead and start programming regression. We'll talk a little more in detail the mathematical part of regression method, and then we'll go ahead and start the programming implementation as well. But as of now, to understand in a nutshell, it is a method where we go ahead and predict the continuous numerical value. Similarly, if I talk about classification, this time I am not talking about the continuous value. This is more about the discrete value. Right? If you look at this image, again, we have few mobile phones. Can you discriminate between these mobile phones? How would anybody discriminate? Let me know. How would you discriminate between these four different mobile phones?
Through
So
brands.
Brands.
Right? Through brands. That is one way.
Through size and screen.
Screen size. Great. Right? Something
Features.
exactly. Features. In a nutshell, features. So something that is observable. Right? So something which is observable here is I can see the brand names on the screen. I can see different screen size or different length and width of the mobile phone. That is one way to discriminate between these. Now, when I discriminate, what I have four mobile phones, or maybe I might have 2, 3, or 4 different categories to differentiate into. If I ask you to discriminate or differentiate or categorize them into 2 categories, that can be done based on the mobile brands. Maybe 2 of the brands are from USA, the other 2 brands are non-USA brands, right?
Android and Mac.
Right. So yes, sir. So iPhone, that is Apple product, and one we have that shows the Windows logo, again the Microsoft product. So these two have the operating system, which is the US based company, and the other two has, which is the Korean company. So we can categorize into US and Korean mobile phones, right? If I ask you to categorize into 4 different categories, so you can keep it as Samsung, LG, Apple, and maybe Nokia or something, some different company, right? So it can be divided into 4. So again, this is not a continuous value. Every time when we classify, we have a fixed number of categories. That is always a discrete value, right? So that is what we do in classification. And the third method is clustering. Can anyone now, looking at the image, tell me how clustering will work on these items? I don't know the
Rupees.
brands. I don't know the brands of these items. I don't want to predict the value or the cost, right? I just want to group them together, categorize them together. Now, how can I again do that?
Similar kind of things put together.
Yes, exactly. So I can look for similarities and dissimilarities, right? So for example, I say, okay, small devices, medium sized devices, and large devices. So mobile phone is a small device comparatively. A smartwatch is comparatively further smaller, but can be grouped together. Mobile phones and smartphones, smartwatch, and then tablets. Couple of tablets I can see that can be grouped together into second category, and a large device, that is laptop, can be categorized into the third category based on their size, based on the dimension, right? So we can find similar things that can be grouped together and dissimilar things kept in another group. That is what we call as creating clusters of similar elements, which is far away from the dissimilar elements. That means another cluster. Fine. So in this case, I don't know the inputs. I don't know, I don't know what would be the output categories. Right? In the previous example, if I go back, I know the categories could be 2, 3, or 4. I might have to categorize based on company. I might have to categorize based on the size, screen size. I might have to categorize based on the country of origin. Right? So I can divide it into 2 parts, 3 categories, or 4 categories. In this case, I don't know what are the categories and what is the criteria for category. I have to find out myself how can I group things together. So similarities is what will determine that which all elements would be kept together into one single group or one single cluster. And dissimilarity means the element does not belong to that cluster, it belongs to some other cluster or other group. So size could be one factor that can be used for similarity or dissimilarity. Cost could be another factor in this case, or we may be able to find some other factors for similarity and dissimilarity. Now, does that relate to any of these categories that we types of algorithm that we understood earlier?
Pratik sir,
Yes. Yes, sir.
Tanmay and somebody has text me the same question.
Okay.
What
So
is the
difference
difference between
between
the classification and clustering?
classification and clustering. Okay, I'll come back to this. So again, I hope you understand what is regression. We are trying to predict the continuous value. In case of classification, I am trying to predict a discrete value, right? A discrete category label I want to allocate to any input. So which mobile phone belongs to which category? Which mobile phone belongs to Samsung? Or maybe, for example, which mobile phone uh, belongs
Android.
to a large screen size or a small screen size,
Hmm.
or Android or any other operating system,
OS.
right? OS based classification can be done. Now, in case of clustering, I don't know to which kind of division I need to do. I am not being asked to categorize them in terms of OS or in terms of size or in terms of cost or in terms of country of origin. I have to myself look for similarity and dissimilarity and say, okay, these similar ones belong to this category. Now, the only thing I know is I need to divide the input, all the input, into 2 parts or 3 parts or 4 parts. In the pre-clustering classification case, we know we need to divide into 2 parts, Android devices and non-Android devices, for example. I already know in advance what would be the output. In this case, I don't know in advance what would be the output. I only know that, okay, I need to divide into two categories, but what would be those two categories? What would be the criteria for those two categories? I don't know. So look for a similarity so that I can keep some elements into one category and some other elements, dissimilar elements, into second category.
Sir,
Pratik sir,
Yes.
uh,
Yes, sir.
somebody asking, is classification a part of supervised learning and clustering is a part of unsupervised learning?
Exactly. That is what I was about to ask.
Okay, that is the question in chat box.
Yes. Now this will, I guess, clear all the remaining doubts. The regression and classification are part of supervised type of learning, and clustering is part of unsupervised type of learning. As I just mentioned, in regression, I am predicting the continuous value. In classification, I am predicting the discrete value. In regression, I am going to learn through the samples where I already know that input is mapped to a specific output, which is a continuous value. In classification also, the algorithm will learn that a particular input is mapped to a particular output, which is a discrete value. But in case of clustering, the input is not mapped to a specific output. We don't know. We only are provided with an input and asked to divide it into some categories or clusters. The
sir,
mapping of output during the learning process is not known.
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So my question is that, sir, how clustering define to classification or to select the features for different groups?
Definitely. So I don't know in advance what is the output, but I know the inputs, right? So in case of clustering, if I go back in this image, I know there is a device one which has a particular length and width, a particular operating system, a particular screen size. A device 2 which has again value for all of these features. Device 3, 4, 5, 6 has value for all of these features. Now, which devices has similar length, similar width, similar screen size, similar operating system, similar maybe any other feature? I can categorize them together into one group. Now, if I have to divide them into two groups, one of these features or maybe more than one of these features would be the deciding factor, to club them together into one cluster. Now, the values of these features will decide the level of similarity and dissimilarity. If there is a high similarity, the values are close to each other. If there is a low similarity, that means the device has different range of values or a far away range of values uh, of the length, width, or operating system or any other feature. Based on that, the similarity factor, the similar items and dissimilar items are determined. Items which are similar can be clubbed together into one group, which are not similar are clubbed together into another group. Now, to identify similarity, there are other methods. There are other methods to identify similarity. Maybe Euclidean distance can help us to find the similarity and dissimilarity. That is one method, a mathematical method. So based on the feature values, if the Euclidean distance is less between the values of two elements or items, that means they are similar to each other. They can form a closed compact cluster. If the Euclidean distance is more, that means or is very high, that means two items does not belong to the same cluster. They may be part of the different clusters. That is how the categorization is done. I hope that answers your question, sir.
Pratik sir,
Yes, sir.
क्या ऐसे कह सकते हैं कि क्लासिफिकेशन में जो हमारी क्लासेस हैं दे आर क्वाइट ऑब्वियस, दे नीड नॉट टू बी एक्सप्लोर्ड बिकॉज द
They are
ऑब्जेक्ट,
already known.
yes,
Actually, their classes are already known in case of classification, but in clustering, we don't know the classes.
right, like in case of COVID we had two classes, like
We have two cases, either the person is
symptomatic
suffering
and
with COVID or not suffering with COVID.
right. So COVID is the common factor,
Right.
but
But
when
we
we
have,
have
for
people from,
example, we have 100 students and we don't know to which class they belong. Right. So what would I do? Then I'll try to find out some similarity. Maybe people with same height can be grouped together into one class. People with same gender can be grouped together into one class. People with same like so in school, these students, they have different color uniform on specific days. So based on the color of their t-shirt or the uniform, we can group them together. Now if I know the labels, that means they all of them have a iCard, and on their iCard their class is written. So I just have to observe their class from the iCard and then group them in
they would,
together into one. So that is the different classification, is where during the learning process the algorithm is given the examples where labels are known. In case of clustering, we give the examples to the algorithm where there is no label. Algorithm has to find out based on similarity and dissimilarity that how can you group the n number of elements into 2 parts or 3 parts or whatever number of clusters.
Sir, in that case, passing parameter is highly important to identify
Yes,
the similarity.
yes. The parameters, the value, the feature values are very important. And the similarity matrix itself is another important factor. So based on type of problem we are dealing with, we can define different similarity matrices. As I said,
one example from marketing we can say, like that we usually refer to is segmentation is very close to clustering, and dividing the no, different objects in the retail store is more of a classification.
uh, yeah, so similar to that, I'll give you one example. For example, if I go ahead and analyze some data of a retail store, right, and I say, okay, I want to identify now the problem is well defined from the very beginning. I want to identify my customers, those who are high net worth customers, high net worth value customers, right, and low net worth customers. So how do I do that? So I will define a benchmark. I'll say anybody who is shopping in the entire year, who is shopping from my retail store for more than 50,000 rupees, is a high net worth customer for me. And below 50,000 is a low net worth customer, or maybe I have 50,000 to one above is high net worth, 20,000 to 50,000 is an average, and below 20,000 is a low net worth customer or not so important customer for me, right? So I have three categories, well defined three categories in advance. Now any customer data, I'll just have to read, analyze, find out the total sales or total spendings, and based on the mapping, okay, if it is more than 50,000 or somewhere between 20 to 50 or below 20, I will categorize any customer into one of these three categories. That is classification. Second case is I don't have a predefined categories. I only have a database of maybe 10,000 customers with me. Now, somebody will come and say, okay, go ahead and analyze your customers. But we don't have a defined category that you categorize any customer into high net worth or low net worth or average person. We don't have defined categories. You go ahead, analyze yourself, and then identify how can you cluster them. So first of all, go ahead and okay, divide them into two parts. How will you divide? So I can go ahead now. The sales is not the defined, or I would say the spending is not the defined factor for me. I would look for all n number of factors. I will treat all factors as equal and try to find out okay which factor is important, whether the money he has spent on my retail store or the number of item person has purchased, or maybe the frequency of buying the items. Maybe a person is visiting me every month. Some person is visiting me twice in a year only. Some person is visiting me once in a year only, but spending all the money in the one go itself, right? So based on the different criteria, I have to find out, okay, maybe on the based of spending, some people are grouped together into one group. Okay, they are spending a lot of money. Some people are not spending a lot of money. Maybe the frequency of visiting the retail store, I can club them together. Okay, people those who are visiting me for more than 5 times in a year, people not visiting me very often, these can be two clusters. Or there could be any other third criteria or fourth criteria based on which the clustering can be done, because it was not defined to me already on what criteria I have to divide, and I have to find out the criteria.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Any other query? Okay, so Simi, you are saying that clustering number of groups are formed according to database. No, it's not like that. Uh, Number of clusters is what we can define in advance, but not the criteria for clusters. Criteria is determined during the learning process. What is more important? So that I can best divide the data into 2 clusters or 3 clusters. So I say divide into 2 clusters, but I don't determine the criteria of division. Right. So algorithm during the runtime has to find out, okay, what is the best criteria if I have to divide into 2 parts or 2 clusters. Okay. So I guess we can move ahead. Fine. Fine. So as I said, both regression and classification, these are the prediction methods, and these belongs to the supervised learning methods, and clustering is an unsupervised learning method. Now, what happens? What is the actual process that we follow? And that is something that is we are going to follow in the coming sessions when we do the hands-on activity. So what we have is we can divide it into 3 broad categories. That is something activities related to data, activities related to modeling, and activities related to visualization. The process involves these 3 broad areas. And when we say the first part, which is data, that is where we have to deal with the data. We have to first collect and gather the data together. The data could be in a raw form. The data needs to be pre-processed before it can be utilized. Data might have some problems, some issues, some missing values, some faulty values. I need to go ahead, fetch the data and pre-process the data, transform the data maybe into some one form to another form, and then go ahead and start modeling the data. When we say model the data, that means we are presenting the data in a specific form, a form which can be utilized by the algorithms, methods, the programming methodologies to generate something out of the data. What we wish to generate out of the data is, as I mentioned earlier, we might use regression or classification methods to predict something. I want to generate predictions out of my data. To generate predictions out of my data needs to be presented first into a specific format, into a particular form. That formation is called as modeling, transforming data into a particular model form, so that that model can be directly utilized. It is useful to generate predictions, because predictions requires a specific mathematical operations to be performed. Then only the predictions would be generated. It all works on probability theories, right? So the modeling of data has to be done, and finally the visualizations of predictions are generated. As a result, out of the model I can predict something, and whatever is predicted I can also convert it into a visual form, so that visually I can see what are the patterns in the data. Numerical values will not directly inference what it means, but visualization is easy to read and understand, even for people those who are not very technical, those who are not from the programming, those who are not from the statistical or mathematical background, those who are not from the domain. They are also able to understand. And finally, what we are actually doing is we are helping out the business. If we intend to make something, create something, generate some predictions or visualizations, that is something we are doing for a business decision making. Ultimate goal is to make a final decision. That is what is the ultimate goal of AI as well. For everything, for every input, a decision has to be made. Decision can be based on a regression method or a classification method or a clustering method. Classifying into a category, clustering of the elements, or predicting a continuous value. These are all helpful or a kind of a decision making activities. Similarly, these decision methods can be utilized in business also. How much amount of an item has to be produced in the factory? How would I know that? So a machine learning algorithm can generate a prediction. Okay, this would be the amount of sale in the coming 3 months or coming 6 months or coming 1 year or 5 years from now. So accordingly, the production has to be managed. It can predict, okay, based on the market conditions, what would be the rate of a Bitcoin in future? What would be the rate of Bitcoin in coming 15 days? Based on the market conditions, based on the taxation policies and other government policies and issues, based on the worldwide policies, what would be the price of a particular stock? So based on those predictions, I would today make a decision whether I should go ahead and buy Bitcoins or a crypto, whether I should go ahead and buy a particular company's stock or not. So all those predictions are for decision making purpose. And in detail, it includes lot of activities. So why we are all here is to learn, not may not be all of this, but at least some part of these activities, so that in future we can go ahead, use these technologies, use a little bit of programming, use a little bit of computer science, use a little bit of mathematics and statistics, and go ahead and create these kind of models, generate predictions out of these models, and help our business or any other business to take effective decisions based on these predictions. So as I said, the modeling and prediction part involves the pre-processing of data, which also involves normalization activities, dimension reduction or dimension change activities, changing of data from one data type to another data type, as also a part of pre-processing, dealing with faulty data, dealing with noisy data, dealing with missing data values is also part of pre-processing activities. Learning is where the machine learning algorithms comes into the picture, and one of the methods, either supervised, unsupervised, or reinforcement, is utilized. We might have to predict a continuous value, maybe the cost of a insurance policy. What would be the premium next year or in coming years, based on the input condition? Whether I have taken the claim this year or not, what was my no claim bonus this year, uh, what is my current age at this time, whether the premium should go up or down. The continuous value is predicted using the regression models, right? Similarly, the classification decision is made using the classification learning algorithms. For example, whether I should buy or sell a particular product, or maybe the stock. Buy and sell, these are two categories. Either the prediction would be buy or the prediction would be sell the stock, right? And then finally, the error analysis is also part of it. Once the pre-processing is done, a machine learning model is created. I have to go ahead and analyze my model, whether the prediction generated by my model is actually correct or not, whether it relates to the real world situation, whether if it says the Bitcoin price will go up whether actually it is happening in future or not. Based on that, the analysis of the model has to be done. That is where we find out, okay, what is the level of accuracy of this model. I'll go ahead and test my model when it is created. I will test my model in the field data also. During the operations as well, I will test and then find out what is the accuracy level of my model, whether what is the how well the model is predicting in future. And there are various methods to do that. The validation method is there. We find out whether a model is well fitted or overfitted or underfitted model. We use precision, recall, accuracy, and other matrices to find out the performance of the model. These are the activities that we are going to do in this workshop. During this program, we'll see how data is normalized, how data is pre-processed. We will see how the machine learning algorithm is created. We will also see how we will go ahead and test our model for accuracy, precision, and overfitting. But before that, what we need to learn is our basics of Python programming language. That is what we are going to do tomorrow. Right. So before I move ahead with a few other things, I'll just quickly show you one small video. So I'll just reshare my screen along with audio. Just please let me know, sir, if the audio is available or not.
Very low sound.
ऑडियो बहुत लो है.
Is it audible?
Audio is quite low, sir.
It is low. I'll just try to increase the volume.
Visualization is right at the heart of my own work too. I teach global health. And I know having the data is not enough. I have to show it in ways people both enjoy and understand. Now, 25 years to 75 years. And down here, an axis for wealth, income per person, $400, $4,000, and $40,000. So down here is poor and sick, and up here is rich and poor. Now, I want to show the world 200 years ago, 1810. Here come all the countries. Europe brown, Asia red, Middle East green, Aura blue, the Americas yellow. The population was 1810. It was pretty crowded down there, wasn't it? All countries were sick and poor. Life expectancy were below 40 in all countries. And only UK and the Netherlands was slightly better off, but not much. And now, I start the world. The Industrial Revolution makes countries in Europe and elsewhere move away from the rest. But the colonized countries in Asia and Africa, they're stuck down there. And eventually, the Western countries get healthier and healthier. And now we slow down to show the impact of the First World War, the Spanish flu epidemic. What a catastrophe! And now I speed up through the 1920s and the 1930s. And in spite of the Great Depression, Western countries forged towards greater wealth and health. Japan and some others try to follow, but most countries stay down here. Now, after the tragedies of the Second World War, we stop a bit to look at the world in 1948. 1948 was a great year. The war was over, Sweden topped the medal table at the Winter Olympics, and I was born. But the differences between the countries of the world was wider than ever. United States was in the front, Japan was catching up. Brazil was way behind, Iran was getting a little richer from oil, but still had shortcomings. And the Asian giants, China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Indonesia, they were still poor and sick down here. But look what is about to happen. Here we go again. In my lifetime, former colonies gained independence, and then finally they started to get healthier and healthier and healthier. And in the 1970s, then countries in Asia and Latin America started to catch up with the Western countries. They became the emerging economies. Some in Africa follows. Some Africans were stuck in civil war and others hit by HIV. And now we can see the world today in the most up-to-date statistics. Most people today live in the middle, but there are huge differences at the same time between the best of countries and the worst of countries. And there are also huge inequalities within countries. These bubbles show country averages, but I can split them. Take China, I can split it into provinces. There goes Shanghai. It has the same wealth and health as Italy today. And there is the poor inland province Guizhou. It is like Pakistan. And if I split it further, the rural parts are like Ghana in Africa. And yet, despite the enormous disparities today, we have seen 200 years of remarkable progress. That huge historical gap between the West.
So what does this video tells us is the power of data analytics. If we go ahead and analyze data, so here they have tried to analyze 200 years of data based that is related to the life expectancy of people in any country, right? The huge bubble shows the country with huge population. So India and China has the major population in the world, and the ones that is up and towards the right hand side, those are the countries where the life expectancy is good, and they are also the wealthy countries in the world. And the how the transition happened after 1948, India, China, Asian countries, they have started to rise up, not only in terms of life expectancy but also in terms of wealth as well, right? So this is how the data visualization, it can tell us lot of details about anything, right? And that is what starts with gathering of data. Until unless we have a good amount of data, anything when we say machine learning, creating a model is not possible until we have a good amount of data, good quality of data as well. The data should be correct, data should be accurate, data should be in a proper I would say proper amount as well. To just understand how the data is acquired, from which sources data can be made available, there are n number of things. I have put in few examples here. One is through electronic sensors the data can be collected. Has anyone heard of industry 4? I'm sure you all have heard of industry 4.0, but can you summarize what exactly is industry 4.0? Anyone?
It depends on this automation.
Yes.
The era of artificial intelligence, machine learning.
Okay, era of AI. Anything to add? Anyone?
Tanmay said digital currency. Tanmay said digital currency.
Digital currency. Okay.
Srinivasa said
IoT.
IoT.
So, Industry 4.0 is basically a convergence of technologies. Convergence of technologies like IoT, in Internet of Things, is one of them. Artificial intelligence, data analytics, blockchain technology, 3D printing, cyber security. Now, what is happening is, let's take an example of any manufacturing unit, right? For example, we say there is a manufacturing unit who is manufacturing a car, like BMW. So BMW is manufactured. So various parts of this car is assembled together into one place, right? Engine parts also and body parts as well. So that assembly is done automatically. There are robotic machines that is working and assembling all the parts together into one place and manufacturing a car or assembling one car, which is a BMW, for example, any variant of BMW, suppose X200, right? Now, there is involvement of all of these technologies in that manufacturing unit. There are sensor based systems which is identifying when a particular part is being installed or assembled, whether it is assembled correctly or not, right? When the engine is assembled and moved to a second step or third step and fourth step, the sensors will detect those movements of the part. There is artificial intelligence which is through the data which is generated continuously out of this unit, right? Data from the sensors, data from the robotic machines is continuously generated. It is regularly analyzed in real time. Cloud computing is another technology which is being utilized, right? And with cloud, the real time analysis tells us whether the working in the unit is going correct, fine, or there is some fault in the machines. If any car is not manufactured perfectly, the parts are not fitted well, the image processing using AI, ML, deep learning algorithm, the image processing system will tell the faults that may have occurred. The 3D printing can be utilized to edit through the additive manufacturing can be used to create some small parts of the machine. Cyber security system is there so that anybody from outside the network is not able to attack the system, so that the functioning of the unit keeps going on, the data remains safe, encrypted, safe in the cloud as well, and analysis reports are also kept safe. Now, why all of this is done? Industry 4.0, this technologies, combination of the technologies. Why do we need real time analysis? Why do we need data from sensors? Why do we need this data to be sent to the cloud and analyzed? Again, the decision has to be made. Should I stop the manufacturing unit? Should I switch on the manufacturing unit? How many units should I manufacture in a week, in a month, in a year? All of this is decided based on the input data. So electronic sensors is one such element that can continuously generate data. We might have sensors attached to a machine which will capture the temperature of a machine, operating temperature of a machine. And a manager or a supervisor in a factory will take a decision of, okay, if the operating temperature goes high, an alert is raised, I must switch off the machine so that there is no wear and tear of the machine. I can save my equipments. I can save money. Right? So this is one example. Social media is another where a lot of data is generated. We are using WhatsApp, Instagram every second. Terabytes, petabytes of data is generated by social media. There are web resources from where we can gather some data. Maybe I want to analyze data. Okay, I want to take decision of food grains. Government needs to take decision. Okay, whether we should distribute the free food grains to the poor people or not. For that, they need a data. How much is the reserve available? And for that, they have the web portals. The Food Corporation of India has the web portal where they keep regularly updating what is the amount of food grain which is there stored, what is the price of a particular food grain on a particular day, price of vegetable, price of fruits. It is also there on, there is a government portal for the local mandis, right? All of this data can be fetched from web resources, websites, web portals, or APIs, and then can be analyzed. Historical recordings can again another source, or crowdsourcing is another very common factor nowadays. I can circulate a Google form and ask everybody to fill in the Google form, provide me some data, and I can then go ahead and use that data for analysis. As I started asking questions from all of you, how many of you know Python? That is one of my way of collecting data. What should I do tomorrow? How should I plan my session tomorrow and in upcoming days? How should I ask my other team members about the session they need to take on day 3, 4, and 5? Right. So that is crowdsourcing. I can gather the data from from people. That is what Wikipedia is also doing. And there are various other resources which are free. I would say web portals, web resources from where you can collect the data. We also collect sometimes data from these resources, use it for learning and teaching purpose, use it for main field data, field analysis as well. And there's a great saying, if you torture the data long enough, it will confess. That means use your methods, whatever tools, technologies, methodologies, algorithms you have, use them on your data. Try to look into the data from all the possible angles. Try it for all best possible combinations, and your data will definitely come out with some inferences, some results, some information, some knowledge, which would be definitely useful for you. I'll show you one link. This is one website called as Gremner. This is one that analyzes the web search results, right? What people in India, UK, USA, and other countries are searching. What are the keywords? What are the questions they have put up? And if I look at the tab on the top, like for example, I say how do I, right? So if I click on that, so people in India are searching for these words. How do I download Play Store? How do I install original vidmate, maybe some tool, right? How do I contact Blue Dart? Then if I look at the analysis of what questions, so it says what is my IP address is the top searched keyword or set of words over the search web browser, sorry, the search engines. What is computer? What is today, or what is date today, or weather today, right? So these are the questions that you can find out, and this is one portal which is keeping track of all this data, what is being searched, keeping track of the analysis, right? It is also finding out analysis, what is happening based on the questions, based on the alphabets the search results are generated, based on the uh, like programming is one. So which programming language, if you want to find out which programming language is the most popular, so everybody is finding out Python compiler, Python download. In every country people are searching for Python programming, how to download Python program compiler, right? If you look for any other topic or cities, which cities are being talked, so in India, Delhi crime, Delhi metro is being talked much, right? So that is one example how the data uh, can give you a number of information. Any data can bring in any knowledge or any information out of it. And when we say data, we always go ahead, look for data analytics. Why do we do data analytics? Yet we are discussing about machine learning, right? So before going into create a machine learning model, as I told you earlier as well, the model has to be created from the data. How learning will happen. Now, for a human being, learning is a continuous process. Since the day you are born, you're learning every day, every minute, every second, you're learning something new. I am also learning continuously, right? But for a machine, I cannot leave machine to learn for years and decades. I don't have that much time. I want machine to be get prepared immediately, in few minutes, maybe in few hours, and get prepared, learn something, and then start working for me. Now, to get machine prepared in very less time, we should provide the historical data to a machine. Now, when the historical data is provided, given as an input to a machine, the algorithm may not work well on any data, any raw form of data. Data needs to be pre-processed and analyzed. We have to analyze the data and find out insights of the data, identify the important parameters in the data, important features in the data, so that those set of features would be given as an input to the algorithm, and a learning model is created quickly and then that would be utilized for prediction in future, right? So analytics is one core part, gathering the data is one part, analyzing the data is one part, and then comes the modeling of data into machine learning model. And analytics can be of different types. We can have descriptive analytics, where we'll describe the details of data, what is there in the data, or try to find out what is happening related to the data, right? Diagnostic type of data or diagnostic type of analytics can be performed. That means why something has happened, any event. Predictive type of analytics can be done. That means we are predicting what will happen based on the historical data. And prescriptive analytics, that means what action should be taken, what would be the most appropriate action based on the data information we already have. These are the four different kinds of data analytics that can be done. And based on that, when we say predictive analytics, it is the case where the machine learning algorithms are used to generate predictions and perform predictive analytics based on historical data. But before we move to predictive analytics, we should look for descriptive and diagnostic analytics manually. Any question on this?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Fine. And as a result, when we say data analytics, we can generate visualizations out of it. Visualization is one very effective and strong tool, as I mentioned earlier, also, which will help any person to understand the details of the data. People may not be very comfortable looking into the numerical values only, may not have the domain expertise, but looking at the graphical form of data, it would be very easy for anybody to understand what is the analysis out of the data. Descriptions, diagnostic analytics can be represented in a very effectively in a visual form. When we learn about ML, before that, when we learn about Python, we will also learn how descriptive analytics can be done. What are the statistical methods? We'll also learn how visualizations can be created, how this kind of graphical visualizations can be generated out of the data. And people belonging to management background, you understand that this is very simple and easy to understand for anybody. From the bulk of data, if you generate visualizations for a business decision making, the top management always require the concrete and concise information. The visual information will be very much helpful for anybody to understand, okay, what has been the pattern, what has been the trends, and how the trend is predicted in future, what is going to happen, and how what decisions should I take based on the existing trends and future predictions. So to do that, we have number of tools which will solve the purpose of data gathering, working with data, pre-processing the data, performing the data analytics, generating the visualizations out of the data, and utilizing the data to form machine learning models that will help in generating the predictions, or precisely help us in doing the predictive analytics. Python programming is one simplest programming language that can help us out in this aspect. There are number of supported libraries and frameworks in Python that can be utilized for data analytics, machine learning implementations. NumPy, Pandas for numerical analysis, for converting data into tabular form and managing the data, pre-processing the data can be utilized. Matplotlib and Seaborn are the visualization libraries in Python. Again, if we go ahead and look for deep learning methodologies, TensorFlow, Keras are the frameworks available for us. If we want to project our outputs to an web page, web portal into a visualized form, Streamlit framework can be utilized. This is all open source free tools available. Anaconda Software is another tool package that has the Python compiler, has some tools like Jupyter notebooks which gives us an integrated environment where we can write our code and execute and generate the outputs. It has some other tools also available. Tableau and Power BI are again the great data analysis and visualizations tools available for us. SQL is another tool which can be helpful in fetching the data from the databases where it is stored permanently, because from various sources the data may not be directly available to us. It may be stored in some database servers. So SQL is another tool. Now, and anybody from the technical background, those who want to learn more out after this workshop and go ahead, they can learn SQL, they can learn about data warehouse, agile scrum technologies. Git is another technology that is very useful in industry, and Selenium for automation purpose, for automation testing as well. Selenium is another tool and technology that can be used. So these are some set of tools and technologies that I have mentioned that will be utilized. Some of them, like Python programming, its libraries and frameworks, Anaconda tool, these are the tools that we are going to utilize. If we have time, we'll also include Tableau. So these tools we will be utilizing in this FDP program. So I would request everybody, before we come for the session tomorrow, I would expect everyone to have Anaconda installed on their computer systems.
Any specific version?
The latest version, whichever is available, you can install that. I'll just give me a second. What I'll do, I'll also share the link to download and install in the chat.
Sir, like one of the things you said.
So it is available for Windows, for Mac systems, for Linux as well. Okay, we'll share it on WhatsApp as well. No worries. So with that, we are done with the basic discussion, theoretical discussion. Tomorrow, when we'll have the tools installed, we'll start working on Python programming, right? We'll go through the basic concepts of Python, some functionalities related to the Python libraries and frameworks as well. So please feel free to ask if you have any question, any query so far.
Sir, can you share some data files earlier for the practice or for the understanding?
What exactly the data you're looking for?
Maybe for the practice.
For Python, for learning Python programming?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll share that with Pankaj sir, and he'll share it forward with you.
Because it's accelerate.
Pradeep sir,
Yes, sir.
tomorrow once the session is completed and whatever sir discuss, so we'll share some of the data file for the practice purpose.
Right.
Would that work, sir?
Definitely.
Yes, I'll share whatever
Okay.
resources are required. I can share it.
So any other question with if somebody want to ask?
So like one of the things you said was about Oracle. So what is this? How Oracle is helping in the data analytics?
Okay, so I mentioned Oracle in SQL part. So SQL is where which can be helpful for us to fetch the data from the database. So Oracle is one database management system. Oracle stores the data for us, and if I want to analyze the data, I can first fetch it from the Oracle database where it is stored using SQL queries. Once the data is fetched, then I can use it in my program for analysis purpose. Uh, if I go more into a detail, Oracle now has its own cloud as well. That is Oracle Cloud. And if you look at the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Services, there is something called as Autonomous Database. So if you're anytime interested in learning Oracle Autonomous Database, that is where it has an integrated cloud-based tools to analyze your data directly from the database. But here specifically for this program, I just mentioned just for a knowledge sake that anybody who is interested to learn more after this workshop should go for learning SQL as well, so that from any Oracle or any kind of database you can fetch your data and utilize your data for analysis purpose.
Sir, you mentioned about Industry 4.0. So
Yes.
Industry 4.0 includes actually even big data also, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. So,
So
when we say
when-
data
yeah.
analysis, it is all it is performed on big data because there's a huge amount of data coming with high velocity, and
Yeah.
the big data analytics comes into picture in that case.
So part of our coverage in this program. So are we looking at to what extent the big data analysis?
So big data analysis is not covered in this program. This the basic and foundation level programs this time, but in future, if possible, we'll definitely include big data as well in any other workshops.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So when you say high velocity, it is like the churning of the data fast.
So data is generated very quickly. So, for example, you look at Twitter. Twitter tweets are generated very quickly. So every second, millions of tweets are generated. So that means huge data that is coming very quickly. Every second, some million tweets comes. Another second, another million of tweets will come. So it is coming with high velocity.
So this workshop is for Python for beginners.
This is
So
for
my
beginners. Yeah.
yes, my expectation is that through data set, at least we can interpret something.
Yes, definitely we will be able to. So tomorrow I'll start with the very basics of Python so that anybody who's new to programming, who's new to Python programming, would be able to understand the basics of Python, how we use what are the syntax, what are semantics, how do I write conditional checks, how do I write loops in Python, and then go ahead and how do I use mathematical and statistical functionalities of Python. Then on day 3, we'll look at it, how visualizations are performed, how data is transformed from one form to another. Then how exploratory data analysis is done is another part of this workshop. Then moving on, how the machine learning algorithm or model is created. Once we have the data, we have analyzed the data, the next step is to create a model out of it and generate the predictions. That is how the flow in this particular program is going to be.
Pradeep sir, we have tried to make it so convenient for the learners so that there should not be any kind of hinge and hurdles for a new first-time learner of this machine learning and Python. Not many time we went through so many videos on machine learning, and they are also quite helpful in learning. But when it comes to the question answer, there are always some sort of dirt wherein we don't find required person. Like as we started with the supervised learning, we need somebody who can guide us step by step that this is how we can perform it. So that is the core purpose of this, or the motto of this workshop. From our side, we'll try almost everything to make it more convenient.
So that is why I am asking for the data set earlier, because through which we can maybe practice on it better and understand it better.
Right, sir. But see, once we tell you that this is how the things will be worked out, this is how the programming will be done or used, then
So what we'll do
rest
is
assured we will share those data sets.
we'll share everything. So what we'll do is we'll once discuss the how the data set is used, and then we'll share the additional data sets with you so that you can practice the similar thing on other data, which is not being discussed in the session.
Great, sir.
Okay, so is there any other question from the participant side?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please, sir.
Yes, Nagar.
Being a new person into this Python programming, what what we are expecting is by taking one any data and explain what are the different algorithms by using that particular data, but everybody can understand the each and every algorithm, whatever you are going to explain. That is very easy for everyone.
Sure. We'll do that way. I'll take
Yes,
this
for
feedback.
example, only 6 classifiers you are going to explain. We explain with the same, and we can practice with the different data sets also. That is
Sure.
very expecting, sir. Thank
Sure.
you. Thank you.
We'll do that. Not only Python, even if you're new to programming itself, even if you have not done any programming before, you'll find it very easy to perform the hands-on in this workshop.
Thank you, sir.
So Pratik sir, let me thank you for this very wonderful interactive session. With the pace of the delivery that I always find you very best, because your delivery or the pace of the delivery always matches with the speed of the learning. It seldom happens that both matches together. You started with very striking part of the machine learning definition, that while defining machine learning, we should focus on the learning first and then focus on the machine last. And you also advise that while defining machine learning, refer to the to how human being actually learn, and that will help us to understand better about this core of the machine learning as a concept. Going forward, you started with the discussion about how the AI, ML, and deep learning are connected with each other, which comes under which category. And then you discuss the types of machine learning. I can recall those pictures on your slide that help us to better connect with what you were saying or what you were trying to understand or make us understand. Then you discuss the regression, classification, and clustering. And the detailed discussion demonstrated that you actually facilitated unrestricted learning. You were not in any kind of hurry to skip any question. So thank you for that also. And you exemplify what is Industry 4.0 by saying that it is more about convergence. So there are a lot of technologies, advancement happening around industry, how somebody can utilize those all as a combination of all these. The video that you shared help us to realize what different kind of insights we can obtain and how they can be utilized. So sir, thank you so much for this effective and very well paced session. I think if Dr. Ritesh, have you shared that attendance link? Okay.
Yes, sir. I've already shared the feedback link and feedback and attendance link on the chat box. So you all are requested to please share your valuable feedback, and this is also used for the purpose of attendance. And we are here to wait for you just to complete it. And type just an OK message in the chat box so that we can close the feedback link after few minutes. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Ritesh, Tanmay Bhardwaj asking, what do we have to fill in organization budget in the form? Is there any Professor Sandhya, what do you want to ask? Please share. Professor Sandhya, you have raised your hand. Please ask your question. Ritesh sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible.
You are audible.
Okay. So thank you, Pratik sir, and I hope that tomorrow the session will be more interactive, because a lot of things to be done from the participant side as well as from our side.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure it would be interesting once we start with the hands-on tomorrow.
Right, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Those who have completed this feedback and attendance may leave the session for tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll start with 6:30 and we'll finish by 8 o'clock.
So can we stop the recording also?
Yes, sir.